That's a transverse foramen. All the cervical vertebrae have a little hole through them on the transverse vertebrae there. Transverse foramen. So if you're given a random vertebrae, you could probably go, hey, that's a cervical vertebrae because you have a hole in the transverse foramen. And that's the typical vertebrae. And we will continue on down. We'll go through the pectoral girdle. We're going to talk a little bit about clavicles. Here they are, clavicles. And what do we got for them? We got an acromial end. It's over here by the acromion. And we have the sternal end, here by the sternum. And that's your clavicle. Then we have scapulas. You're going to need to know right and left scapulas. Easiest way to tell whether it's a right or left scapula is pick it up, twist it around, and point it on where your own body is. If it's this one and it goes out this way, just identify where the spine is, where the coronoid cavity is, and go with it. That'll tell you whether it's right or left. Okay, parts of the scapula. We've got a spine. Now, the spine has a few parts on it that there's this. Well, correction. The spine, the acromion. All right, and the coracoid process. The coracoid process is here. Now, if you notice that there's a gap in between these two, in which the humerus attaches, that's the glenoid cavity. All right. Now we've got three fossas. These are kind of bowl-shaped indentations, and they're pretty obvious. You have a spine, right? You have a supraspinous fossa. Literally, it's an indentation where you can drop something. You have an infraspinous process. Infraspinous fossa. And then on the other side, underneath, is the subscapular fossa. Big bowl-shaped thing right here under the underneath side. Muscles attach in there, and that's where those are. And that's the scapula. So we'll get started with the limbs. We've got, you should know the right and left humerus. Should be fairly easy to identify right and left humerus. You know where the top is, big ball there. And you look for this big hole in the back, the olecranon fossa, and that will tell you where the back is. And then you can just hold up the limb to go, oh, that's the left humerus. But we'll talk a little bit about the left. We'll talk about the humerus first. First of all, we've got the head. Head of the humerus right up here. We've got the surgical neck. This is where it quite often breaks. Then we have the shaft. Now, the deltoids bulge out right here. That's the deltoid tuberosity. So bulging out here where deltoids are. Deltoid tuberosity. Then we have the epicondyles. Now if we go down here to the epicondyles, we have medial and lateral. Medial, lateral epicondyles. Then, sorry. Okay. Then what we have is, yeah, my brain is just shining out here. We'll start with the back. We have the olecranon fossa, right here where the olecranon goes in. We have the radial fossa, that's the groove where the radius goes in, and the coronoid fossa. And that is the humerus. And then we can get down here. Did I do this backwards? Yep, I got them backwards, sorry. Radial fossa, coronoid fossa. Sorry about that. Radial fossa, coronoid fossa. And then we'll move on. Radius, ulna. Ulna is easy to identify. It's got this huge honking U-shaped groove where it attaches. And the back part of the ulna, this part, is called the olecranon. It goes into the olecranon fossa. So that's the ulna. C. Oh, and this thing, this U-shaped part is the trochlear notch. And this part here is the, this part here is the coronoid. Part that goes in the coronoid fossa is the coronoid. should be pretty obvious that the coronoid goes in the coronoid fossa. And let me see. Radial notch, up here near the top, is a notch where the radius attaches. So it articulates there. And last part of the ulna we're worried about, this little pointed part that looks like a pen, styloid process. Then we can go on to the radius. We've got the head, and it's got a styloid process down here also. It's the radius, and it's got an ulnar notch. It's got a notch right here where the ulna, right there, ulna attaches. And that puts us to the hand. We'll flip to the hand, and we'll notice that there's carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. Phalanges are here. This one's missing a flange, but it's got its metacarpals and carpals. I don't want you to know the individual carpals, but you should know that these are carpals, these are metacarpals, these are phalanges. And you should be able to number the phalanges. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. And you should know whether it's the proximal, medial, or distal phalange. Proximal, closest, medial, and then distal. And remember, the thumb only has a proximal and distal. It doesn't have a third medial. And that's the upper arm. So we should be able to move on down to the pelvic region. Coxal bone. It's called pelvis. Should be able to tell right and left. Basically what you do is you look at where the bowl shape is, face it forward. Look at where the femur connects in, face it there. We have the ilium, iliac fossa, right here, big bowl-shaped thing right here. We've got the articulating surface with the sacrum. Snazzy way to say this part right here where it attaches to the sacrum. Then we have the greater sciatic notch. What are we talking about? If I put this little guy's arm out of the way, you see this huge honking notch here? That's the greater sciatic notch. And then the iliac crest is right up here. Which of course brings us to the other part, the ischium, bone right down here. Easy way to remember it, it's bone by your butt. It's ischi. Oh yeah, we have people